I got to a lot of these learnings because I also went through a hard spot in my career in my upper 30s where I started experiencing burnout, but I hid it and it translated into panic attacks and anxiety. And it was a really dark time, but these principles I teach saved me and got me out of it. And that's also was the pivotal time in my life where I looked around and I could see other people experiencing similar burnout symptoms. And I was like, I want to help make it known that we can actually have a successful career and a successful, fulfilling life too.
Joining me today is Megan Kuiper. She is a dynamic keynote speaker who brings the perfect mix of depth, energy, and humanity to every stage she steps on. With over 2 decades of leadership experience and a background in transformative culture consulting, Megan helps high-achieving teams move from burnt out to breakthrough by reigniting what makes us all human: connection. She invites you to listen to their inner voice, elevate their energy, and dream boldly within their organization. Megan's message resonates deeply with professionals navigating high-pressure environments who are hungry for alignment, authenticity, and real momentum. Known for her relatable storytelling, fresh takeaways, and a powerful presence, Megan doesn't just speak, she sparks transformation. Today, we are talking about leading through human connection because when people feel seen, energized, and connected, performance takes care of itself. So stay tuned. Welcome to the show, Megan.
Thank you. I'm super pumped to be here.
I am super excited that you are here. It has been a mission, people, for us to actually get on this. It was like one of these things. What is it? What is it? The retrograde? What is that called again?
Oh, sure. I'm learning about all that astrology.
Me too. That's why I don't know the word. But I feel like the tech is just not with us. And yet we made it work, right? We know how to figure things out. And I cannot wait for today because I know that I've already shared with you that I love your vibe. And I just can't wait for this conversation. We just met just a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month or so ago. And I think that we've hit it off pretty well. Even our husbands hit it off, which was amazing in itself, right?
Yes, absolutely. That was a bonus.
It is. I mean, how many times are you like, oh, I want to hang out with this, this friend, and then you get there and it's like your husband they don't click, or even vice versa, right? You don't click with the wife. So it's like, oh, you got to spend the whole night with whatever. But I think the 4 of us, we were like, oh, we were vibing, all of us.
And now to know that you are in my neck of the woods in terms of the Chicagoland area on some kind of regular basis is even more exciting. So, and you're so right. But I loved that you brought your husband on this retreat that we met at, because a big shift in my world is integrating my family and everything I do professionally. And so it was my first retreat. I brought Nate on, and it was so wonderful to blend the 2 things. Yeah. So anyway, I figured that you have a similar value in that regard too, which is cool.
Yes, absolutely. I think we had talked a little bit about, being in this like world, like even an entrepreneur on side, sometimes it gets a little lonely, or sometimes you want to have like the sounding board and you want to kind of discuss things really of what matters to you in the bigger picture. So I think it's so cool that he does come with me. So he hears and he gets to put faces with names, right? Yeah. Or he hears what I'm doing and what I'm trying to build to have a better understanding. So we can have these conversations at really the level that I need it to be at. It's not like, yeah, honey, whatever you think. It's like, oh, so what do you think about this? Or so-and-so was talking about this. Would that, he may not know all the details, but he was like, that kind of sounded good. How can you make that work for you? So I don't know if your husband is that deep into it, because I've dragged mine to quite a bit, quite a few things. So, but it's just nice to be really in it together, because what you're building is for your family, you know?
Absolutely. Yes. And I love what you said about, your husband's integration, and just you're including him in the ideas. And I just feel like it is fun to get their thoughts and support. And then we can accelerate things faster when it's kind of like our goals versus just my goals.
Yes.
So that's so cool.
Yes. Yes. All right. So before we dive into frameworks and team and all this,
Yeah.
so exciting. It's really exciting. I can't wait. Okay. So just take us back. Like, what was the moment, the situation, the conversation, the experience that really made you say, like, oh, leadership is actually about people, not performance? And then what led you to get on the road as a like a sought after keynote speaker?
Thank you. Yes. Well, I am super grateful for my journey in the corporate space and just really finding a role out of my college experience that allowed me to lead in my most authentic way. And so early on as an executive in the big box retail space, I saw that leading is a big gift, and to be able to have that kind of influence over people is so special. And I did grow up in an environment where my parents led us to treat people kind and give everyone a chance and help everyone feel like they belong and all those kinds of things. And so it was fun to be able to translate that into my corporate world early on. But my role, because of my gift of lifting up teams and developing them and helping them stay engaged to want to win, um, I took on this role where I was moved around the country to do just that, like turn around cultures and teams. And what I really learned was that people just need to feel like someone believes in them and that there's this bigger purpose and mission that they're moving towards. And lastly, I love to talk about dreaming and we'll probably get there, but I loved investing in understanding what everyone's individual dreams were.
Mm.
Because when we understand what the bigger thing that we're all striving for, we can cheer each other on. And it brings those dreams to life way faster than when we're just holding them inside and maybe building dust on them. And so a culmination of those things really started igniting this fire in me to continue to make a big impact in the corporate space I was in. But then I had this bigger vision that started to shift where I could see that I could bring this into more spaces and different niches and different teams and have more time with my family. And so it's just been a really special evolution of leveraging leadership in this special way. And now it's so fun to, like I said, or you said, like speak on stages and lead retreats. And I just believe an engaged, happy, nurtured team will not leave you. So obviously that's important as it relates to retention, but it really helps just results soar and helps them also live an integrated life, like we were just talking about with our families, which I think is not always common in the corporate spaces. It's like we can start living and leading in silos. Like I show up this way for work, but then I'm
Mm.
exhausted at home. But when we can like embrace all the important life pillars and show up the same in all those spaces, I also feel like it just creates an amazing organization.
Hmm. Absolutely. Oh my gosh, so good. I so many thoughts came to my mind, so we're gonna
Oh,
dive
fun.
in. All right, so we're
Yeah.
talking today. We're going to be diving into something that I believe is at the center of every thriving business, right? And I think it's just every thriving human, just like you were
Mhm.
talking about. So we're talking about leading through human connection. And I
Yes.
love that you say you don't need another meeting. You
Yes.
you need a spark.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I was cracking up to myself because I'm always very, I try to be, up and,
You
it's
are.
funny. I'm like,
Yes.
anytime I'm in like a bad mood, if you will, my whole family's like, Mom, what's right? Like, I'm like, am I the only one that's not allowed to be in a bad mood? Like, I have to be in a good mood all the time. And even I have a new team member and we got on the call and I was like in the middle of something and he popped on. So I just kind of kept going and he's like, he kind of cut me off basically. And he's like, is everything okay? Like, you're not your normal cheery self. And I'm like, oh, Like I didn't even, because I was so like
Yeah.
focused on something. So that really does come across, in how you are leading people. And
Mhm.
sometimes you don't realize it, but it does set the tone for everything. And they're looking to you for that.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I don't know if you ever felt this way, but and I obviously have not led teams as large as you probably had. Um, but I just thought sometimes I'm like managing people, I'm like, oh, do I have to? Right? Right? Or even now it's like, why are they not buying into my vision? And what I've learned is that you do need to bring the joy and that energy to
Mhm.
get them on
Yes.
board.
Yes. And the work I'm doing now, I love it so much because I really approach it from first as I work with leaders and business owners and doctors and authors, all different kinds of people. To lead through human connection actually starts with us leading ourselves first. And that's similar to what you're saying just now, too. And I think it's three principles. It's choosing our energy and doing things to generate good energy all day long. And I feel like we don't just have energy. I did come out of the womb with a lot of energy, but I do feel like I am very intentional all day at having, I talk about pit stops and these like recalibration moments to bring the energy, the fresh energy into each next thing I'm doing, whether it's taking a quick walk or I love music and dancing or just having um, fresh lipstick on or whatever that looks like. But just doing things to take care of our energy and increase it is important. The second thing is I'm always leaning into my connections and pouring joy into those connections and also really working on my presence and consciousness and all my interactions. And when we are doing that, I just feel like we feel so good inside.
Mhm.
And we then can give that to others, in a more amplified way. And then the third thing is that I'm always daydreaming and getting close to my dreams and helping others do the same. But I just feel like we always need something big and bold to reach for. And when we have that, it like lights this fire. And when I put my feet on the floor each morning, I like have a reason to like bring it that day. And so those are the three things I think are really important to your point to be able to really thrive and have that big influence in leading others through human connection too.
Yeah, I think that is so important. And I think and I'm glad you said this because I'm curious to see, like you mentioned, music and moving and things like that, because we are human, right? So it's
Yeah.
like to be on all the time
Mhm.
can be exhausting, right?
Yes.
It's like, and I love how you said leveraging leadership to do this. And at the same time, it's like, we are the CEO, right? Or we
Yeah.
are the leaders that are in there, and it's like one of those things where you see it like a celebrity, and people are like, well, you can't blame them because they're human. I'm like, yes, and they hold this responsibility because
Yeah.
they are at this level in this light, and
Yeah.
people do look up to them whether they want to or not. So
Yeah.
it's almost like you have to know how to show up. So what are some things that you do or you recommend people to do to keep that joy going, even when maybe everything is falling apart or you have
Yes.
like a disgruntled employee or somebody with an attitude? Like,
Mhm.
how do you keep that going?
Sure. Well, I some of my favorite things are using our planners and our calendars as this amazing tool to support everything I just mentioned. So in my past, I and I must share too, I got to a lot of these learnings because I also went through a hard spot in my career in my upper 30s where I started experiencing burnout, but I hid it and it translated into panic attacks and anxiety. And it was a really dark time, but these principles I teach saved me and got me out of it. And that's also was the pivotal time in my life where I looked around and I could see other people experiencing similar burnout symptoms. And I was like, I want to help make it known that we can actually have a successful career and a successful, fulfilling life too. So,
Mhm.
as you're talking about like times that I had to really dig deep, I, it was a couple of years that I really had to. And I did get support with working with a coach, which was, you know, really important. And now I work with two coaches and I have connections every single week with them, a business coach and a high performance life coach.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but back to your original question, some of the things I learned in getting out of that dark time is to use my calendar to schedule things that serve myself first before I say yes to, work obligations or life things or volunteering at the boys' school. And when I started planning out my workouts, my date nights with my husband, naps, my sleep, I still have these habits and they really help serve me to be able to show up in this best way, both at home and on stages and as I'm leading retreats and working with professionals and things like that. So using our planners, I think, to
Mm-hmm.
schedule fun and energy giving events that help us, I think is a easy strategy that anyone can, wrap their arms around and do. But often, usually I think of like our planners traditionally as I work with people are their Zooms and their meetings and their due dates and their like doctor's appointments and things like that. So, and I will tell you, I remember my planner is always with me and around. When my husband started seeing his name on there more, as you can imagine, it like,
Yeah.
you know, elevated the joy of even anticipating what coffee date we were going to go have or taking a walk together or whatever that looked like too.
Also, he feels included because
Yeah.
I know, I mean, I'm guilty of like, I'm just go, go, go. It's like, well, where's he in my priority too, you know?
Hmm.
So it's like you're
Exactly.
prioritizing everything else, and where am I? I'm like the scraps. Or if you're not tired anymore, then maybe we can hang out, right? So that is so important because I think that I know for I'm getting better, I will say. But I know that a lot of people do that, which is just like I know when I first started blocking out like workout time, I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh, wait a minute. I can't start working at 7:30 because I have to work out. Like I'll just wake up earlier." And then I was like, "Wait, when am I going to sleep? I can't wake up at 3." You know, it was
Yeah.
like I'm like,
Yeah.
"It's okay that I start an hour later." Like I
Yeah.
I literally had to talk to myself saying, "It's okay."
Be
Because if I
fluid.
don't do this, then
Yeah.
I'm not going to get that. Right. And then, of
Yeah.
course, it's all fine. Like an hour that you feel better, you're actually more energized, more productive anyway.
Yes.
So it's
Yeah.
funny what our brains tell us, right?
Yes.
Oh my
Yes.
gosh. Okay. So, when you think about leaders who create this belonging and like a real culture, what are they doing differently from everyone else?
I think they, a couple things, but number one, they're great role models and they're people that, I think when I walk in a room and help people elevate their leadership, like you emulate and you want to have time with them and you just like love their energy and they're full of wisdom. So they're great role models, but then they empower really good. And I think that empowerment comes from um, them investing in their team. So I'm helping a school right now. It's our boys' high school actually, and it's really special. I'm working on um, the leadership of the faculty and all the leaders there, and we just rolled out a really cool development status program. So twice a year, it's going to be where like the principals will sit down with each faculty member. And the point of these statuses are to really help develop them as a human, less about getting skilled up or looking at their test results for their student bodies, less of that, more because that's already happening,
Mm-hmm.
but more of an investment in them and what their energy feels like and what are their dreams and what do they need support on to achieve those things. And with that comes this sense of belonging, empowerment, and that they matter essentially. And it's fun working with this school team right now because then our children all benefit too when the faculty is feeling engaged and poured into and that their dreams matter that aren't necessarily aligned with anything in the school building or whatnot, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Totally. Because they see them as a person, not just like as a worker bee type of thing. So let me
Yeah.
ask you this. I don't know. I have seen it happen both corporate as well as like in the online space
Yes.
where it's like, okay, we're going to hit, this is our revenue goal, right?
Yes.
we're going to get this many clients and we're going to do this. And then it's kind of like, hey, now you're making all this money and I'm over here still making this, or like basically they're never going to make as much. So then where I have witnessed are people like being a little disgruntled, or I don't know if that's even the right word. But like, oh, I remember back in the day when I was in the mortgage business, it was like they were making tons of money, and it would be like the owner wouldn't even come in, right? Because I would go to all the different broker shops because I worked for a wholesale lender. And then I would hear from all the processors, oh, we're here, slave driving, and he's making all the money and he's always on vacation. And it's kind of like they're taking on all the responsibility because it's the company. So
Mhm.
when you see that happening, how do you work with the leaders to get them, for the employees not to feel that way? I don't know. I don't know how to phrase that question, but basically
Yeah,
like
I
that.
understand. Especially working in the corporate space, like as the leader, I wasn't one determining the raise rates and things like that, or the pay increase percentages and things like that. So, but really, what I kind of have already said it a little bit, but when people feel poured into, they really are just more open-minded
Mm-hmm.
about um like it feels so good to work in that space, and they're going home and feeling energized talking to their, families at the dinner table because they feel so valued.
Mm,
That sense of feeling valued starts to bridge that gap is what I believe and what I saw.
mm-hmm.
Because there were years, depending on the retail landscape, that including myself, like, the pay levels varied.
Right.
But for me, even when I had some really great bosses that I could role model after, that like I just, they were sending letters home, and I talk a lot about recognition and creating a recognition culture.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fun to do this for small spaces and big spaces too, but you know I would send letters home, and it was so special, a handwritten letter, and then these team members would come in with their parents and be like, this is my leader that sent that letter that's hanging on our refrigerator. And
Mm-hmm.
that is everything, like creating that recognition and appreciation culture.
Mm-hmm.
I really believe that it outweighs some of the, speculating about pay. And now I know that's a whole nother topic, but I really think these leadership behaviors help a team feel like they belong, they feel valued, all those things. So I think recognition is a big thing. And then the role modeling thing, I mean, I would hop on a lane and check people out. I would help unload trailers. And not all day long, but I think there's an element too of having visibility with the team, and
Mm-hmm.
um, rolling up your sleeves when not all the time, right? Because we have to empower, and we
Right.
have the higher you go, the more responsibility in a different, it looks different. But I do think there's that element of being visible and appreciation. I think both of those things really help bridge that.
Yeah, I do love that. And also, I don't think money is a motivator for everyone.
Yeah.
I know for me it had never been, and I'm like, is that money mindset issues? I don't know. However, it wasn't always the motivator for me.
Hmm. Same.
To
I
your
would
point,
agree.
it's like some people want the recognition. Some people just want to say, oh, wow, I did the best job that I can do. Or I knew I was kind of not doing so great. And now look at where I am. Like they want that. And that does go a longer way. And I think for what you had just said, if you combined it all, then I think they will be less disgruntled or
Mhm.
feel, because I honestly, I just feel like they feel unappreciated.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
So,
Yes. Yes.
you know,
And really that dream component, like me truly understanding the last store I led had 300 team members, and it's been a couple of years now, but there was a time that I probably could have articulated all of their dreams.
mm-hmm,
Um, and we all checked in on them, and I mean that is so powerful to
mm-hmm,
feel that the leaders at the top and at all levels are
mm-hmm.
cheering one another on, whether their dream was to save for college or take their family back to Mexico for a summer trip they hadn't done in years, or
Mm-hmm.
get their kids in a special program they wanted to get them into. And just it goes such a long way. And on like as on the leader end, it makes you feel so good too. And it makes like going into a workspace so exciting to have that connection.
It really does. And I think that my mom is very type A, very goal setting. Like I've done goals, I think, probably since I was like 3,
So fun.
but however, my husband not. Like their family never talked about it. So he's like, you do this like it's no big deal. And I was never taught. So I think that by creating that space in this work environment, there's probably a lot of people that were
Yeah.
never taught to dream or to
Yeah.
say like,
True.
like this is what you wanted. What are you doing this week to move you forward to making that happen? Because I think what happens too is like we get in that daily grind and oh, this is so expensive or this happened or my car broke down or whatever, and it's like we just keep pushing that dream down. Like
Yeah.
that movie Up. Did you ever see that movie
Oh, I
Up?
love it. Yeah.
Right at the beginning where they're a young couple and they're trying to save their pennies to take this trip, and then this happens and that happens and then she ends up dying and they never got, so sad. But it's like that is
Mhm.
literally life. So it's
It
like
is.
how can you take a minute
Yes.
and try to avoid it as much as you can, because things will happen. However, if
Absolutely.
you keep your eye on that prize and you keep revisiting what your dreams are, that's how
Mhm.
they happen. And by having the leader by your side, guiding you through that or reminding you of that is so special.
Yes, yes. And it's so fun. I love that you were brought up in that environment, and I was too. But it just made me think about like, then all these team members are bringing that idea to their homes, like,
Mm-hmm.
even if they, weren't raised with that mentality per se. And then they're passing it on, which is
Yeah.
so cool.
It is.
So,
It is. It is. Oh my gosh, I love it. So let's stay on the accountability side, right?
oh
Because
yes,
that's somewhat holding them accountable to their dreams,
yes.
right? So
Hmm.
how, like you teach accountability as something empowering. So how
Hmm.
does connection change the way teams experience accountability?
Well, I think accountability was it's usually one of the top missing things when a team is struggling. And um, I love to explore and teach about the Oz principle, which I don't know if you've read that book or heard
Mhm.
about it, but it's really great. And it talks about I love it from this like self accountability lens first. A team that is all self accountable and as an individual creates extraordinary outcomes, and they take initiative and they see things that are not right and take action on them instead of being more in this mindset of like, well, we've always done it this way, or it's just a hard time in the economy right now, blaming or complaining or making excuses per se. And so the Oz principle talks about accountability as being this line. And I love it. So when we're operating above the accountability line, we see things, we solve them, we do it, we take that initiative.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we're operating below the line, we make those excuses I was just kind of giving examples of. And when everyone is above the line and even can envision a line, it's something that I teach in our home here and in every space I'm in, because it just really moves the needle and creates this huge accountability culture where it's everyone's goal to win together. And we can help each other through struggles versus feel disappointed and blame, because I believe as humans we all want to win, like, and we all have good intentions.
Mm-hmm.
Most, I really believe the majority of the population, like, that is the truth, but we need help sometimes. And I just think integrating this accountability line mentality really helps us um achieve big things together.
Mm-hmm.
And um, one of the biggest things with accountability is being thoughtful about what comes out of our mouth and how we show up and all those things. And I always teach, and every space I'm in, that, complaining, blaming, gossiping is the quickest way to live a mediocre life. And it just stalls everything.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, those are like the Ted Lasso-y things I would integrate all the time, especially when I would get into a new building. And it just is such a relief for everyone because no one wants to be around that.
No.
And having that self accountability is really powerful, especially with that stuff. And I'm a mom of three boys, and that we're in teenager world and college now, but it's important to talk about these things at home too, because there's just a lot of distractions with complaining, blaming, and gossiping out there, and not getting involved is just powerful. And it serves, I thought of my children as it relates to their sports teams that they're on, and now they're on work teams and things like that. Um, you stand out when you really choose to be that positive, influential person.
Yeah. And especially with work, I remember so my daughter ended up moving to Chicago for a job during it was after COVID, so everything was remote, right?
Sure.
Nobody was working. And so they decided about I don't know how long it was, like maybe a year after, it was like, okay, we're bringing everybody back in. You have to come in a couple days a week, whatever the new rule
Sure,
was.
sure.
Oh my gosh, everybody was up in arms. And
Yes.
they're like, "Well, are you gonna pay for, my transportation, my gas, my park?" And
Yeah.
so my daughter had moved. She took a 30-minute train ride to get to work every day. She had moved her apartment closer, so it was like a 10-minute walk to her
Mhm.
office. And so she's calling me and she's like, "Oh my gosh, everybody's saying this." And I'm like, "First of all, stop."
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
like, "Number one, no company pays for your transportation to get to work. Your job is to show up at work." Like I've
Yes.
never once, I mean, sometimes when you work downtown, they give you a parking
Sure.
pass, that type of thing,
Sure.
but it's whatever. No one's going to do that. So that's not a thing. And then I'm like, and second of all, you just moved to a more expensive apartment, so you could be closer, so you could get to work. So don't even get into that water cooler talk, because then
Yes.
what are you going to be perceived at? You're going to now be
Yes.
creating problems or be thinking things that are not even a
Yes.
problem, especially
Yes.
for you.
Yes.
But it was so interesting to see how all that, what is it, scuttlebutt or whatever,
Yeah. Yeah.
all the
Yes.
gossip just starts, festering and creates this
Yeah.
huge thing that now the whole office is all upset about this, which, is not, should
Yeah.
something that's not need to be upset about.
Well, good job, Mama. Good job.
Yeah.
Advice to carry all that. That's
It's
good.
so funny. And it's so funny because, of course, I could say that now that I'm older. But probably when I was her age, I would be thinking the same thing, because you're just hearing all this
Yes.
and you don't really know what you don't know. So it's kind of nice to put in perspective, or at least to ask yourself, wait a minute, is this gossip? Is this? Is this
Yes.
that? So you can decide, it's not necessarily true, but that is a
Mhm.
whole other conversation on that for sure. For
Yes.
sure.
Yes.
Okay, so when someone feels like, meaning a leader or a founder, who feels like exhausted or stretched thin or out of alignment, what is the first like micro shift that can help them come back to themselves and to their people?
Yes. Um, there's five things that I love to talk about in this regard, and it's really this like new lens on what true productivity looks like, because I think a lot of us come up in the train of thought of like being productive is like getting the to-do list done and all the things in the shortest amount of time. But really, I feel like we're like redefining what productivity is when we actually are working on work that's meaningful. And so making sure that we always have meaning connected to whatever we're doing.
Hmm.
And if we're not, if it's meaningless, then is it something that we can, delegate or stop doing? But I think having a meaningful like vision and connection to whatever it is that we're working on is really, really important. And with that, I think it's important to trust our voice inside. And I think sometimes we stay stuck too long, but it's okay to like, listen to that voice, trust ourselves, and um, again, just make sure the work we're doing is meaningful in some capacity.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then the next thing that I love to talk about that like I'm trying to work on this myself so much, but is to really be the master of distraction removal, but just really getting aware of what distracts us. I mean, technology is usually the number one that I hear and I relate to. Um, but when we can really do work and have relationships and conversations that are not having us distracted and looking at our phones or responding to emails before bed, like all those kinds of things, we just start feeling more alive and present and conscious, which I think is really, really powerful. And we actually can achieve a lot more than we think we can because we're not distracted too.
Right.
And this is something I'm working on in our household still too. I mean, our, you know, boys love to keep up on the phones and, all the things, but I really, think in the morning, not checking in. I'm learning and I teach that I think we think we're checking in, but we actually are checking out.
Yes.
And so yeah, so this is a work in progress, but I am working on it in our household, like I said, and even just in all the spaces I'm in teaching it, because I just think that if we can come back to just car rides and healthy conversations and not always being dialed in, we can achieve so much more and feel so much better about it.
Hmm.
So that's been a big topic I've been talking a lot about. And then I just also think making sure our health is our number one job is so important. And I think as achievers, sometimes we can tend to serve everyone else before ourselves when things get really full sometimes, but making sure we have healthy habits. And, the younger me, health was really tied to aesthetics. And I think that's important. I want to feel great and look great. But really, it's about the how much energy I can produce, I feel like. And when my energy is good because my health's good, I'm making a bigger impact everywhere. And
Hmm.
so I think that is really, really important. Um, and just, you know, pouring into those meaningful relationships and making sure that we're spending time with those that matter most and that our relationships feel joyous are when our relationships are thriving, I feel like everything else is too. And making sure that we keep that at the forefront. And then lastly, just getting clear on those dreams. And um it can take a long time to know what your dream is. And i I mean, it's been like 6 or 7 years. I used to write down every day. And keep in mind, I was happy in my corporate role. I loved it and was proud, but I still saw this bigger vision of me working for myself someday. So in 2019, I just started writing down every morning, I work for me. I work for me. I didn't even know what that meant or what I'd offer or what I do. And it's so fun. I save all my old journals, but it just really got me out of bed. And I just started, I talk about dreams as like the big, bold thing that we don't always know the how, but then I feel like goals are the little things, the micro things we do to get there.
Hmm.
And so I just remember during that time, like a year later, I talk about goal stacking a lot, but I started doing things to like get clear on what I would offer in my
Hmm.
business someday. And so I did a photo brand shoot, and I remember going to the photographer, and she's like, "What are these for?" And I was like, "I don't know, but I just thought it would be fun to have professional like pictures of myself." And I just started doing these little things that started helping like ignite so much excitement, and it helped me have better boundaries at work because I was like adding more things in my life, but they were more about serving myself, if that makes sense.
Hmm. Oh
So,
my
so
gosh,
yeah.
that's so good. So there was so much that you said. I wrote down some things because one of the things I noticed about everything that you said is how everything is basically the full circle. So it's not just what you're doing at work, it's how you're having it follow through or keeping in aligned in integrity to what you are also doing at home.
Yes,
So it's literally like how you are living,
yes,
all the time. And like you had mentioned the silos, so there's no more silos, and it's your values, it's your mission and how you are choosing to live life and not just live life at home or teach. It's like
yes,
you're doing
yes,
it.
yeah. And
So
I
I
feel like
think
we
that's
start to,
very special.
yes. And I think we start to attract more of what we want when we
Hmm.
are, showing up these ways too, just organically.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So, so, so good. What else did I write down here? Oh, yes. And then when you were saying the distraction and checking out, I was like, yes, because sometimes that's what I do. I was like,
And
busted, because it's like I do check in and then I'm like, sometimes I like on purpose, say, I
Yes,
just
and
need
that's
to step
okay.
away, like that pattern
Yes,
interrupt kind of
absolutely.
thing. And then sometimes I'm like, wait a minute, am I doing this subconsciously so I don't have to deal with that? Or so I,
Yes,
you know what I mean? So
yes,
it's like catching yourself there and eliminating that, I think is
yes.
so important. And by example, like even with what you're talking about, with whatever it is on your team, and it's harder when you're not in person because you don't know what that person is doing on the
Mhm,
other side of their
mhm.
screen. Um, and it's that trust factor. I remember one of my clients, I was like, oh, wait, you're going to do this? Like, I'm totally not always trusting. And she's like, oh, but I trust until I don't. And I'm like, some things that happened were like big, oh crap, like this happened. If I would have been untrusting, maybe it wouldn't, you know? So I'm like, okay, but maybe that was an extreme case. So it's like,
Yeah.
how do you, like, when it's not like this, how are you, or what would you suggest that you would implement in both accountability, getting them excited, getting them to show up, and being like trusting or to be
Mhm.
trusted? Does that even make sense what I'm
Yeah, I think a lot of that is just having that really clear vision and clear expectations for your team, like in
saying?
communicating those things. I think when we're super clear around, you know, I mean, what you expect of them essentially, or what you need of them, then I do think there's a level of once those expectations are met and set, giving them the autonomy and empowering them to run with those expectations. But I do think there's a final step, and that's really having touch points to give feedback and receive feedback
Mm-hmm.
and knowing when that is. So like scheduled time. Um, so if like I'm sure you have a team or an assistant or two, and I have one too. Like we meet every Monday and we, talk about the week ahead, weeks ahead, maybe the months ahead even. And then I empower her because she's really good to, bring all these things to life for me or in with me. And then I have like, okay, well, let's follow up on this one on Thursday, Friday, just being really specific about the follow up. And then once everything's turned in per se, I can give feedback like, oh, this is great. Oh, I need these things updated,
Mm-hmm.
all that. And I just think that feedback and that final step is really important to help both people feel really at ease and good.
Yes.
Like you as the leader, you trust because you were clear, and then you're giving this predictable feedback that they know that they're going to be receiving. And then you can also say, like I always ask for feedback, am I being clear enough or am I following up too much? And then it's just this mutual connection that just keeps growing, and it's, I think, really healthy.
Totally. And I do think that what I have noticed in some of my team members is that when they feel that you do trust them,
Yes.
then they just perform at a
Yes.
much larger rate. And there are some things in the interview, because I do keep track of time for a few reasons, not just to see what they're doing.
Yeah.
But I do want to know, like, well, how long is something taking you? Am I pricing my product right? Or how long is this taking you? Is this an area or a chance for training, right? For you to
Sure.
maybe, I think it should take you an hour and it's taking you 3 hours, right? So how can we, speed up that time type of thing? Not
Yeah.
necessarily. So if they're automatically like, oh no, I don't want to be, I'm like, okay, but what are you hiding? That's where my brain goes to, is like, well, what are you hiding? What, like, why wouldn't you if you're not doing anything wrong? Like, and then I'm like, okay, maybe then they're not a fit for my team because they'll understand what I'm doing and I'm not just checking up on them, so to speak,
Mhm.
you know?
Sure.
So I think that I've learned to just go off of that vibe on there too, and then everything else kind of takes off from there. Oh my gosh, so
Yeah.
good. Is there anything else you want to leave us with?
Well, thank you so much for all this. I could talk leadership all day long. I love it. So thank you so much for letting me share. And I am excited to gift everyone my 5 days to shine. And this is just a nice ignition of a lot of these concepts where for 5 days in a row, you'll get a little um, inspiring short video from me on something you can implement that day to really ignite that spark that we talked about in the beginning. in your leadership and your life and in just how you're showing up for yourself too. So I'm excited to share that with you all too.
I'm excited for it. Okay, it is time for Michelle's Hot Minute. I'm going to ask you a
Okay,
few
fun.
rapid fire questions. This
Okay,
should be easy. Don't
okay,
be
I love it.
nervous. Okay,
I love it.
what is your leadership superpower?
I would definitely say energy, like bring in the energy.
What is your
And
guilty pleasure?
my guilty pleasure, probably naps. I
What
love naps.
What is your go-to hype song?
Oh Lord, I love so many. Oh,
You're like, I have to pick just one.
well, I love to dance. I love like hip hop. I mean, I would say like Pitbull, like I used to do Target dances like in the aisles with my team.
Oh, I love it.
Yes, I'll have to send some to you. But the Pitbull was always like everyone loved it.
Every
And the
Pitbull
Pitbull
just
song.
makes you get up and dance. I mean,
Yes,
come on.
yeah.
Okay, early bird or night owl?
Early bird.
Where's
Early.
your next travel destination?
Okay, Costa Rica. I was invited to attend this special retreat in January,
Mm.
and it's with some women. I think that I love sitting at tables with new people that are high vibe, and I'm going to go, and I've never been there.
That's going to be exciting.
Yeah, I'm
Okay,
excited.
lastly, what tells you most about a person?
Ooh, I would say their smile.
Hmm, I love that. This was so much fun. I appreciate you, Megan, for coming on the show today.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Tell us where we can find you.
Oh, sure. Well, I love to connect. I love Instagram and LinkedIn, and it's my name, so Megan M. Kuiper, for both. And you can certainly we can hang out on my website too, where I have the 5 days to shine and some other special offerings and a little teaser of some of my speaking at megan-kuiper.com.
Oh my gosh, so good. Okay, I'm going to drop all the things in
Okay,
the
thank
show
you.
notes. So definitely go check her out. And this was so incredible. Thank you for giving us this grounded, powerful wisdom on what it really looks like to lead through connection and not the control, the pressure, or
Yes,
perfection. Right?
yes,
I know
yes.
I'm speaking that from my heart on
And
that
I've been there
part.
before too.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, so good. And thank you that for reminding us that connection isn't soft. It's really being strategic and personal, right?
Yeah.
It's really the foundation of like that performance culture and people actually wanting to show up and grow with us. So
Yes.
thank you for sharing that. I
Thank you,
appreciate you.
Jill. Thank you.
All right, until next time, keep leaning into those small shifts and stacking those 1% wins. Let's grow your business together.